Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another Krosmaster's unboxing component video. This is for Krosmaster Quest. So if you're at all familiar with this game at all, first of all, there's the Arena games, and then there's, which is Arena 2.0. There's also Junior. Actually kind of a little map here we can show off. So you have like the base game, Arena. Which is a tactic fighting game. So you have a map that you play on with grids. You have characters. Well, there's a little faction. Here's some different characters you can buy in booster boxes. And they each have little cards that tell what their abilities are, their movements, their attacks, their health. It's like a little RPG. And you have them basically fight out on these maps. You can also take... pardon me. Other than the arena version, there's an online one you can play as well if you'd rather play that, and that way you can control some of your actions and things like that. There are, of course, add-ons, so you can buy more maps, extra figures, and again, like extra figures in the booster packs. There's also a junior version, and a 2.0 arena, which is not showing on here, which is just a different version of the arena. It's has new characters, new maps. It's not just an updated version, so if you own either Arena or Arena 2.0, they have completely different stuff in them. The Junior is just a little bit simplified version, and some stuff for, beginners or maybe younger players. And if they get familiar with it, you can jump up to the regular, but everything as you're showing here is cross-compatible. And then in today's video, we're going to go over Quest, which is actually a co-op version of the game, where you can play with other players versus an AI controlled map. So we're gonna kind of jump in and see how that all works. Before we go that, just look at, so there is I think currently like 6 seasons out. At the time of this, I think there was only 3. But you have seasons 1 and 2, and I have done some unboxings with those you can check out, as well as kind of like a buyer's guide. But I'm just going to kind of scroll through, and you can see all the different characters. Then there's Series 3, they had a little less amount. And then some other booster packs, which I went through videos for all 3 of these things as well. So check out that if you want to know some of that stuff. Alright, I'm going to move this box out of the way. We're going to look through the rule book quick. So one thing that's cool is I'm going to cover up my code down here first of all. Is on the back, it's going to go through and give you a great breakdown of what you do on every turn. So there's the player's turn, and there's different stuff they can do. And basically they have either adventure or combat in this version. This is a co-op. So in an adventure is when they move around the board, search for things, and then combat is when they finally decide to actually start fighting. So if they're doing adventure, they can basically, they get extra movement points, and they can kind of heal because they're resting, taking it a little bit easier. If they're combat, they can actually use their abilities. But you have to pick which one you're doing. And there's some other different stuff that happens. Actions, cost, and then the demon gets a turn. So this is the AI control thing. You draw these special event cards, and then things happen. So it's not 100% AI controlled, like some games are, where it's going to tell you to do this, do that, and you don't have to do anything. Basically, either one player just has to take control of the demon on each turn and decide where they move and what they do based on these cards. And certain things like that, or players can take turns doing it. I suppose you could also have a third player or an additional player just only play the demon, if you don't want to have the co-op. But in the idea, it's still cooperative, but somebody has to control the bad guy. So it's either have one player just control the bad guy versus the other 2, but then it's still like an adventure map. Or you have everyone kind of taking turns back and forth. Then it's also just going to go through a bunch of the other basic game things. It's just a reminder, like how you determine damage, what line of sight is, area of effects when they mention them, like what they actually do for casting spells or attacks, how to cast them, and then what different actions you can do on what they cost. And these are just some of your basic actions. There might be other little things you can do. Alright, so we're going to hop into this. Take a look. So here's a big giant thing. Here's what happens with all that. Not going to go over all that. There's your guide. So there's a bunch of stuff. You're going to get 7 Excuse me. You're going to get 7 figures in this game. The little yellow bird and the little white sheep are exclusive to this set. The other 5 characters are from Season 2. So if you bought Season 2 stuff, you might already have these figures. If you haven't bought any Season 2 stuff, then you're going to get these, but then if you buy it later, you're going to end up probably with duplicates. They have character cards. There's going to be dashboards for up to 5 players, which are a neat feature of this game. Marketplace, because you actually can buy and craft equipment. So besides having various skills on your character card, you can buy other things to improve your characters. So you could play the exact same like maps, the exact same characters like 2 or 3 times in a row, but have excuse me, have some different equipment, which could affect stuff. There's an adventure path, which kind of shows some different stuff you're trying to do. A bunch of tokens we'll look over. Item tokens, there's 80 of those. There's also 16 tile boards, which is what makes one thing that makes this different in a scenario book. That makes this different than like the arena games, because the arenas have one big board that's dual-sided. This has 16 smaller boards. So you can kind of, when you're doing your adventure, you can like move them around and do different stuff. There's a bunch more other stuff in here. A bunch of different status, resource, marker tokens, demon tokens to keep track of that. There are some storage containers to hold all the tokens, which is really nice. Them storage containers have like separate slots for a lot of stuff, which I like, because a lot of games where they have tokens are just like, here, drop them in this hole in the like tray, and I'm like, but I have to sit here and dig them all out to find which one I need every time, which really sucks. A bunch of 3D-ish scenery, some dice, then all the different cards you're going to use, and we'll kind of go through all this. And I'm probably not going to sit here and read through every single card and every single little item in the game, because otherwise this would be like an 8-hour long video, but I'll kind of show off some of them. Alright, so game objectives is your Krosmaster is, you're trying to get money and buy stuff. And then they have the GG, the Galleons of Glory, which you're trying to win to get various stuff. Basically, this is like your victory points. So it says, it's a 2 to 6 player game. Each player takes control of one of the characters known as a Krosmaster. Travels through the world represented by square game boards. To win the game, you must successfully complete various quests that will pop up through the game. Turn-based tactical combat, resource management, and your powers will let you succeed in a endeavor. There's mobs, which are little bad guys you get to fight, and then the demon, which is like the ultimate bad guy in this. So there's a couple game modes, like I was saying. There's free-for-all or cooperative. Your free-for-all is you're playing the game, you're trying to win alone. So you might backstab or step over other people, or maybe use your abilities against them. You might form temporary alliances, but you're trying to win on your own. Then you can also play cooperative, where you're all working together to win. So there's kind of neat. Then like a demon, I said someone can play as a demon, or you can share it. There's also scenarios, which you can read about, which give you specific things to do, versus just playing it however you want. So it's kind of cool. Also neat is you can, like I said early on, you can mix and match with any characters or figures you bought from previous games or expansions or any of that. So if you really like a different character, you can always bring them into the game. There's some dice, has a couple different sides on it. there's critical hits, which do extra damage, armor, which blocks damage, lock, which prevents a character from moving away from another character, dodge, which lets you move away from another character. Then there's also one side that has critical or dodge. If you roll that, you get to choose which side it's on. And then there's the Dollfish, which is kind of like the special ability one, which can be like wild or turn into anything. So you're going to roll these during combats and actions to do basically gain bonuses or prevent things from happening. You get there's a reserve for stuff. You get a bag on your token sheet, which you can collect your items, and then you can actually unlock, because again, it says a little RPG element. You can purchase to buy bigger bags, buy more space, and we'll look at that when we get to some of them boards. There's some various stats for every character. They have blue stars, which are AP, or your action points. This is what you spend to do things. MP, the green diamond, which is your movement points, and HP, which is the red heart, which is your hearts, which is your health. There are also various things that can heal you, or you can might have to spend health to do abilities. And it says some markers temporarily influence the amount of AP or MP you have, so you get little counters that give you plus or minus of those. And that stuff's going to look like those. So you get plus and minuses, and that's just to keep track of those. We'll explain the character card a little bit more when we get there. But every character's going to have a card, going to have a bunch of different information on there. Bunch of different cards you have. Event cards, scenario cards, quest cards, boss, mob cards. You're going to have different cells on the tiles. Like I'm going to say starting spots is where your characters can start. This particular game has dung and egg cells, which are going to have be used in the game. Scenery cells are going to tell you where to place various items, like trees, mines, walls, bales, so far. The demon cells are where you get items. And then there's a bunch of resource tokens, which is unique to this version of the game, the quest. Because that's how you craft items. I know I'm running through this fairly fast, because this isn't meant to be... I'm sorry about the coughing. This isn't meant to be a straight up how to play. I'm just trying to kind of go through the basis of what Quest is, versus if you watch the arena, you get an idea of what that is. So each player here is going to get this dashboard here, which is going to have various things you can do on it, so you can keep track of your character card, your items, your bank, or your bag and stuff. Again, I'll kind of go over that stuff a little bit more when we get there. There's a city, and then this is showing how you build these worlds with your various tiles. You just can't have gaps in here. You have to be able to travel from one map to the other, at least in order. But they don't have to necessarily be a straight square, which is kind of fun. Tokens, placing those. So we have the adventure path. The event cards are associated with the mob from your play. Shuffle them, place a scenario. So you're going to place your various events on here, which you're trying to get through, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a marketplace board, which is going to tell you how much money each different resource costs. So if you need to sell it, or if you need to buy some more, that's what you can buy them for. And then down here's the stuff you can purchase. So one part here will be a little coin saying this costs 1 or 2 or 4 to buy this. And then the symbols in there are saying what items you need to actually craft that particular item. So you buy it, and then it sits in your inventory ready to craft, and then when you can spend those resources, you can actually turn it into an item of some sort. Alright. So that is the basis of some of that stuff. So there's going to be, on your board, you're going to have this GG path. Which is basically what you're trying to purchase. It's your victory points for the game. And you're trying to just complete quests to gain more of those. So you can have the most by hunting trophies, doing various journeys, events, quests. There's repeatable quests, stuff like that. Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of fly through some of this. So yeah, this is something you can do on your player turn. You have to pick if you want to do an adventure mode, combat mode, which I kind of mentioned before. And then you have different actions available. So you have move for 1 MP. So every 1 MP you spend lets you move to 1 free cell. So if you have 5 points, you can move 5 spaces. You might have to use dodge or lock to get away or stop from getting away from somebody. You can cast a spell, which is going to cost various amounts depending on what your spell costs. You can farm, so for 3 AP, which is your action points, you can farm a tree or a vein to get resources, like logs or gems. Some of them have a special farmer power, which lets them do more stuff. You can pick up pieces of the dung or the eggs located on their special spots. You can craft items. You can dabble. Go to the marketplace for 3 AP. You can, in the following, sell items of resources for items or buy any number of resources. You have to spend 3 just to do it, and then you can spend the coin to pay for it. Zaps or teleporters. You can remove a cover, which are on your boards. You can spend your money. So you're trying to collect money by doing quests and stuff, so you can basically level up your character. Join or leave a group. So this is if you're playing maybe like free-for-all. So you can choose at any point to be like, hey, you and I are allying together, and then I think the idea is you're supposed to announce if you're not going to ally together anymore. Like, you shouldn't just straight up backstab people, but you can do whatever you want. Trade items, change equipment, flee combat, heal injuries, or enter a dungeon are all other various things you can do. The demon's turn. You're going to get these event cards. So demon's turn comes along. Their first action is to pick up an event card for that turn. They must draw a number of cards equal to the number of characters minus 1. For example, there are 4 in play. They must draw 3. They always draw to a minimum of 1 card, however, even if there's only 1 in play. And then they resolve the effects in any order. Make one or more mobs appear on a tile. Make 1 or more resources appear. Change the location of the marketplace. Or add a new quest. Then they have mob activation, so they can move their mobs around to try and attack people. The only place they can't attack you, I think, is in the city. And then they have the shared demon token. So if you're playing with the shared demon token, the player passes around tokens show whose currently turn it is. This has 2 faces, active or inactive. When a player's turn comes, they have the demon token. They must play the demon turn first. Once the demon's turn is over, they can play their turn. So if like player 1 has takes their turn and player 2 has the token, player 2 has to do the demon first, then they get play their turn. If the demon turn is active, the player completes a turn. They pick up the active event, do all this stuff. However, the demon token is inactive. The demon only plays a partial turn. They pick up the event cards, but they don't control the mobs. At the end of the turn, they turn the token over to the active side space up and pass it to the player on their right. So basically, it'd be player 1 goes, player 2 has the demon token. If it's active, they do all their stuff, and then they're going to flip it over, hand it to player 3. So when player 3s come, they're going to do the event, but they're not going to get to move everything. And then they'll flip it back over, and player 4 will get to do stuff. So that means the demon's going to activate every other turn. And the token will pass from player to player in reverse order of normal gameplay. So I guess what that's saying is if you're playing player 1, 2, 3, 4, you actually pass the token backwards. 4, 3, 2, 1. That way, it's not that way the boss isn't activating every turn as well. Yeah, so it's kind of a neat idea. Alright, and then you can do casting spells, which we'll kind of go over some of those. So these are going to be on your character card. They're going to have this little bar here, which is going to show various things. So the little box in here is going to show a symbol, which is going to say what its range is. Like how close, or if it's a melee or not. name of it, special ability if it has one. The blue star or whatever's here is going to say how much it costs to pay for it. And the circle here is going to say how much damage. So Pilfer here is a ranged attack that can hit between 1 to 3 spaces. Costs 3 to use, and it does 1 purple damage. And it says Pierce Armor, which is a special effect. And then you get +2 to the target turret. So if you have a turret, you can give it +2 AP so it can act. There's healing spells and stuff like that. They have usage limit, which is kind of neat. So black ones can be used whenever. Purple ones can be used multiple times per turn, but not on the same target in a single turn. So you can keep casting them, you just can't keep hitting the same guy over and over. Blue spells can only be used once per turn, and then red spells are special ones. They can only be used once per the entire combat. So it says if it enters the adventure mode, then returns to combat mode later on, they'll be able to cast this spell again. So basically the red, it kind of goes sort of in order. Black are a little bit easier or not as damaging spells, up to red being like very powerful, so they won't let you use them as much. So they're going to show a couple different ranges here. So they have classic range, which has a circle. Targets a cell between the minimum range and the maximum range, so wherever you choose, it hits that one spot. So either does 2, 3, 4, or 5. Spell without a line of sight, except does not include a line of sight. So that means you can actually do it. So the difference between green and red is green spells, you can change the distance using various abilities. The red means you can't affect it, so it's always going to be the same. Line spell means you have to target that line, but it's going to hit anyone in that. Then there's close combat, which are like melee spells, you have to be next to them. Personal spells only attack yourself. So it's just showing kind of what the line of sight thing is. So if your character's here, it can attack. So you can see any of these spots that are in the green, because there's nothing in your way. Any of the ones with red, you have a line of sight to, or you can't really see them because they're just, you can't target them because they're too far away, but you can see them. And then like this, there's a tree in the way, so you can't see around this tree. Same with this bush. You can see over a bush, but you can't like attack through it necessarily. It's just kind of neat. So you have to play around that. And then there's spell damage: water, air, earth, and fire. I keep thinking purple is death, but I guess it's air. They're elemental spells. Some are neutral, some heal. They just inflict extra damage sometimes. It might be something that gains a bonus damage to a certain type. There are also area of effect attacks. So these will say what zone you hit. So like you target, your target starts in the middle, that's the spot you select, and then it hits every area in there. Or if it has the blue circle, it's saying that's where your characters, you're hitting in those other spots around you. And then various other stuff. You can get counters that get plus or minus AP or MP, or range. You can adjust the range or damage. Various things like that. The other couple of things to go over for spells is, there's various little extra abilities, but we have every character automatically has this punch ability. It's not listed on the cards, but it costs 5 AP, which generally is most characters' entire amount, or they won't be able to cast something else, and it just does 1 damage. So if like you can't play anything else for some reason, you can at least always play this. And then they have like summon spells, which work the same way, except they don't have a damage in there. It lets you put down a little summon token, and then the number behind it shows how many they can summon. So you can only summon 2 or 4 or 2. And there's some pictures of the different summons. There's some turrets, there's bombs. So they're normally tokens. There are various ways you can actually buy these little extra 3D miniatures, which are really cool. I unfortunately don't own any. Here's some mobs. We're going to jump through these quick. So you have normal mobs, dungeon mobs who have little, have little crowns on them. And special mobs, you'll have this little, like, purple skull shape on there, and they're just special ones. So all a mob is it's a little, it just represents a little token character that you don't have a 3D model for, or you could get one possibly if you find one. But they work basically like little enemies. So here it's going to have a token for it, and then this game you actually get cards for them, which is really cool. So you can actually keep the card out as a reminder, so you don't have to keep flipping the token over all the time. But it's kind of the same thing like a character. Movement, health, action points, what it can do, its damage, its range. Plus it has loot down there, so if you beat it, that's the various loot you're going to get. You also gain money, the commas, for how much health they have. Alright, I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but these are a bunch of different powers that do different things. Let you roll extra dice, give you extra abilities. Some of these are listing you ones that aren't in the set, just for mentioning it. There's the marketplace, which I already kind of talked about. You buy stuff, you craft it. Here's what some of the equipment is. So like you can get this gob hammer, and we'll look at a little bit more of these when I get into the tokens. But it's like, its selling price if you like to sell it. This one here is going to give you an extra attack, so now you have another attack with a hammer area, how much it costs. But depending on maybe what character you have, maybe 6 is too high. Or you're a ranged character and it doesn't work, so you might want to sell this. Plus how many hands it takes, because like you can only have, you know, 1 sword or 2 hands worth of swords. Or there's armor, which gives you like plus health, resistances, which is kind of neat. Or you could get potions, like one-time effects. Kind of neat there too. Different stuff like that. It's like they're saying weapons, 1 hand, 2 hand, various pieces of armor. There are also set armors, there's trinkets. So if you collect all the different pieces of a set, then you get these big giant set tokens, which give you even a bigger bonus. They're kind of cool. Gives you a reason to try and collect stuff. Alright, another thing that's different from the in the quest game is there are dungeons. So there's going to be special totems you can go up to, access, spend some points, and you can go to a special dungeon tile, which is separate from the rest of the map, and you can fight like a boss or something like that, and get some extra tokens or whatever. It's also interesting. So if like player 1 enters, if they're teamed up with player 2, regardless of where they are on the map, can then just join them in the dungeon automatically. So you don't have to wait for your entire party to get there. So if you're playing 100% co-op, one person can get there. If you're playing competitive, but you're on a team with someone, you know, they can come join you as well. And then you get special boss cards that are only for this game, which give them extra bonuses and extra powers depending on which one you draw. So that way, each time you fight the boss, they're going to be a little bit different, which is kind of cool. Then we have all these scenery elements, which some are obstructing. These are little 3D items that go on the boards, you can kind of see there. They just set up different stuff, so they end up like to help make the world feel a little bit more full. And then this game, they actually do serve some extra functions, because like you can harvest from the trees or the dungeons, or you can get nests, there's crafting tables, the marketplace, various things, teleporters. So it does have some extra neat stuff there. Plus they also can block characters from walking through them or line of sight, which is really neat. Here's a bunch of the cards. I'm not going to sit here and read through all of these. But there's various cards you can get on the scenarios. So here's some different event cards, quest cards, and what they do. We'll flip through them quick when I get to them. I'm just not going to read every single one of these little things. But if you want to pause the video and read them, you're more than welcome to do that. There's some journey cards, or at least what the symbols on the journey cards do. This has a lot of really good references. And then game variants. Playing with other characters, using other bosses, creating your own scenarios. Big giant fact. Alright. So, I kind of jumped through that really quick. I didn't want to spend a ton of time going through. I do want to look at the scenario book quick, and then we can jump into looking at some of the tokens and all that stuff. Alright. So, the scenario book is also a tutorial. The first part is a tutorial, and then the next part is going to that. So, if you watch the arena game, you can see how the tutorial was really good for this. I still like the arena tutorial better because it's a bigger book, but this is going to have very identical things. So what it's going to do is have you starting off with your, like, here's a mission, here's a, take this tile specifically, put these things in these spots, and then here's what you want to do. But what it does is it does the same thing the arena does. You're going to start off, here's your board that you can set up your character for. But basically, you're only going to have health. And what it does is it has you start off with only the punch ability. And it's, okay, so we're going to play. All you can do is punch someone. You can't do anything else. You can move around. You can punch. And then it's going to have you explain how doing critical hits and blocking and all that does and taking damage. And have you get just familiar with the basics of, now you know how to move, now you know how damage works. Then the next one's going to have you set some more stuff up. It's just going to add an extra ability. So you're going to put some more terrain on there. Stuff you have to like move around. Crates, trees. This one's going to add spell that actually has a range. So you can actually attack from more than one spell away. And that's going to be set up some of that stuff. And then like adds in some other things you can do. In the third one. But like, again, like the arena one, actually a map, like in the book for each one. So you just play a little map, play a little map. This one's just telling you here, set this up, you know, do it that. It's going to assume that you've probably played a little bit before. But now here it's like saying, start with this, but here's some items to do. So now you get to figure out how to do that stuff. And then it just adds a little bit more. This one jumps in everything a little bit quicker because it's only 5. The, arena tutorial, I believe, was like 10 or 12 pages long. And it really went through like every single little thing you needed to do. So now here's some actual scenarios you can set up to play. So it's showing like, here's some maps you can set up. Some different stuff you can do. Actually, I think, oh, that's still the tutorial. How to do this. Here's another tutorial. I'm not going to spend too much time on these because they don't show a lot of stuff. Lots of it's just reading how to do stuff. Then it has scenarios. So choosing your scenario, what type you're playing, free-for-all or cooperative, who you're fighting against, the godballs or the tofus, both or either, depending on what you want to do, just how you set various stuff up, and special rules. So if we look at the first one, it's a free-for-all game. Mob families use, victory conditions, special rules, setting up, which board to use, only the certain boards, event cards, mobs, marketplace. You know, very simple. And then we just kind of jump through all the rest of these, and I'm not going to spend too much time. This one has a special thing that lets you shear the sheep, the godballs. Gives you a different ability. This one has an egg hunt. Killing special version characters, mobs. Winter. Buying stuff. Collecting items. And there's some cooperative ones here. Different things you can do there. Generic cooperative game. Godball's Revenge. The Tobifying Makes a Scene. The Big Hunt. And Dungeon Rush. And then another one. And then a notes page for whatever reason. So yeah, there's some different scenarios, or you can just kind of play it however, play it on your own, which is really fun too. Alright, so we're going to look at some of the different boards. So you got this big giant quest board. Here you're going to put your various to-use discard pile. You can put your tokens there that you move through, or your cards there as you play through. Here's your marketplace board. So as you can see, it does not start with any tokens, so each scenario is probably going to tell you where to put different amounts, or you can randomly draw stuff. Your things you can buy, you're going to have 2 weapons available, 4 pieces of armor, and 2 trinkets always available to play. I'll look at those in a minute. We're going to look at all of these tokens here really quick. So you're going to get these big, massive token sheets. So here's pictures of all them different items for the marketplace. You can put these down to cover up the items. So if like maybe you only want 1 item available or none of them available, you can put those down as a reminder to not use those. You're going to get your health icons, different gems, ores that you can harvest. There's some resources, some plus and minus icons for stuff. More resources, gold. These are actually resources you'd harvest like on the map, and these might be ones that you like slot on something. And flip this over actually. You're gonna have your tokens here that are gonna, one side are gonna have the adventure, the other side are gonna have the combat, just to keep track of what you have. So if I flip these over, there's the combat side. These guys are darkened. Has all the minus tokens on there. So yeah, you're going to get a big giant sheet with essentially all the different types of money. We're going to slide that over that way. Flip these around so I have them all upside down. Alright, there you get a sheet here with all the different tokens. This is different armors. You can see some give +2, +3, plus the ability armor, farmer, prospecting, strength, which gets you some bonuses. The weapons can get you various other attacks. They'll kind of go through. There's a gobble sets, gobbler set stuff. Some various other ones. There's some of the trinkets you can get, or spells, teleports to a location. There's one of the big things. If you collect all of these, you can get +2, +12, +2. There's a bunch of tokens for all the different enemies you can fight. And on the back, it's going to have all their different stats. We're also going to have a different thing on the back saying different for the gobbler sets. Plus, you're going to see these are the costs for all your different items. So, like, it costs 2 to buy this recipe. And then you need 2 of the sheets and 2 of the horns, or 1 of the logs. These ones down here, you're actually going to need some crowns from defeating bosses. So they're a little bit more powerful. And the tokens, I'm not going to spend too much time on each one, but like Godball has a bike ability that costs 4 of its 5. Black Gobbly has a range, it's a spit, but it gets you -1. Also has itty bitty, which means you can shoot around it. We have White Gobblies, which have a dribble ability. Gobble War Chief. Let's see if I can get this to focus a little bit better. There we go. I didn't really want to zoom in so much. I just want a little bit better focus. Yeah, Gob Charge lets you move. We have a Gobble Ghost Stuff, which pierces armor. Things bite. We have a Gob Coal, which has gold. Gold usually means rare. Says to cool. I'm not sure what that ability does. a goblet, stuffed gobble, cave gobble, skeleton gobble, putrid gobble, all a bunch of different abilities there. Some special mob tokens. Plus we have some interesting yellow ones down here, which is the like one of each type, or a couple of each type. It's just, oh, hang on. The only problem with trying to hold this board is I'm going to keep popping pieces out. Ooh. So those guys are, you see some of these guys have the little skull symbol, some have the crown. I think that's just the difference on their coloring. Alright, so we're going to toss that one aside. We're going to get another sheet of tokens. You got some of the tofu stuff, some more of these like scroll and potions and things. Yeah, you're gonna get some different attacks, like that buzzard bow in the top middle. Costs 5 but does 2 to 5. But it only does 2 damage. Various things. We have some more sets. We have a bunch more items. This is also going to have some of the other summons, like these turrets, a shovel. Go flip over and we'll look at those in a second here. And I'm popping these out and trying not to. So have little tofus, which have peck, which has a 0 ability, or attack, or damage, I guess. But that means you have to roll criticals to do damage with them. But the idea is that they're really cheap, they come out a lot, they have 1 health, but it's just to gang up on you and just hopefully land some good criticals. We have some mutant tofus, a blastafu over here, it's half sideways, stuffed tofus, babies, pajis, tophones, a batfu, black tofus, tofines, harpooners, the living shovel, and then like them gold crowned ones. Alright, shove that one off. So then the last 2 token sets we have, this one you can see I have all these holes in here because I have popped all of them out. But it is the exact same sheet as this one. So this is all your scenery. And then what's also neat, so on the back of the scenery, they're going to be color coded. So like all the orange ones go together, purple go together. They have like little numbers or letters, so like A goes to A, B goes to B, to help you figure out how to put them all together. Except for like the trees and some of that stuff where they just have like top goes to the bottom. I am going to tell you right now, those things suck to put together. So here's one of the maps. I'm going to tilt this down a little bit. Just as one of the little maps you can get multiple. So this is going to say like put some crates here. The little horseshoes are starting spots that you can start on. Flip it over, we have a different one, which is going to have just some different other symbols on there. And things you can do. It's like a chicken nest. What I want to do though was look at some of the 3D terrain. So what I end up, or scenery, so I end up doing is, after I build them, I throw tape on there, which does make them look a little crappier. But they're probably not going to hold together very well, especially if you try putting them back in the box. And I don't want to rebuild these every single time, especially because this is dual, like, layered cardboard. So if like one of these edges starts to fray off, it won't fit in the hole anymore. You're going to be fighting with it. You could probably use some sort of like glue or tape this better than I did. And if you're really good, you could probably tape it on the inside. I just don't, I'm not that worried about it. But this is one of the teleporters, and they would sit like that. I'm going to grab one of the figures out. Little prospector guy. Just as a size comparison. And then we're going to finish looking at some of these terrains. So we have some trees, which would block his line of sight for doing attacks. And we do get 2 of each of every one of these things I'm going to show off. So we have basically a tree for a couple different seasons. We have a green in autumn, one with red apples, one with green apples. And they have some different pictures on there, like that one has a little bird on the bottom. I didn't tape these together. I might, because if you pick them up the way they're built, they're not going to fall off, because the top does slide in there, but they actually hold together fairly well. The only reason I might tape them is just so that way they don't fall apart when I throw them in a box or something. But if I had to take these guys apart, you know, it's 2 pieces. It's not that difficult to put these back together really quick before you start playing a game. So I'm not too worried about the trees. We are going to have some other things for this. We have the marketplace. We have the crafting table. We get bales of hay. We get a low block wall. We get a gobble cage. We get a tofu nest. And we get some ore. And there's a couple different ones of these. And we have a water fountain. Which is another one like that. Little just thing to kind of be in the way. Yes, there's all these different things here. Except for the exception of some of these, like these 3 here that have stuff on top. Your character can move on top of these. I believe they can push them with the ability that says they can push things. Some of them. They can't shoot through this box though, but like they could shoot over this low-hanging wall. It's just kind of just an obstacle to sort of be in the way. I don't know if I didn't see it in the menu, or in not the menu, the instruction book, but I know in the arena game and the other expansions, all of the different scenery stuff, you can have the option to give it a health. So like you could give this hay bale like 3 health or whatever. Then that way, if you do damage to it, you could destroy it. I don't know if they. I don't think they had it in this one because, like lots of the stuff ends up having you, like you don't want to destroy certain things, like the rocks or the nest or the cage, because you're getting resources from them. But that is one thing that you could possibly implement, just that way if you want to get rid of stuff out of your way or hinder other people. And then this one, yeah, a little cage, a little guy inside. The crafting table has a little like hammer on it, has a saw that sticks out. So I like the saw also just pops out really easy. So again, that might be something I just pull out when I'm going to store this. Same thing with this marketplace board, which I don't know why they didn't print this the other direction. But again, you're going to get 2 of each of these. You have the hay bale, a little wall, an ore, and then a little chicken coop. Kind of looks like a well. Then the last couple of things you're going to get is you're going to get this big giant totem, which has like an eyeball on it. And that just kind of helps block stuff in the way. And again, you can't see over that, so you definitely can't shoot through it. It's like a tree. And then you have the 2 dungeons. You have one for the tofu and one for the gob ball. The gob ball is this white one here, which is like a little sheep. And the tofu one is this yellow one, which are the little chicky birds. These ram horns are falling out. So these are where you put these down and you have to actually walk up to access the dungeon portion. As you can tell, I barely moved this and this crown fell off. I don't know how you can really tape this in there very well. So again, that might be some of these little pieces like that. I might just, even like these ears, I might just have to pull out, put in a separate spot when I store these, just so that they don't like break off while they're moving. And then the last thing we have is this little phoenix bird, which has an item. And I did have to tape him together, unlike the trees and the rocks and stuff, because he did tend to fall apart. Alright, so I'm going to slide that off to the side. We're going to look through the maps quick. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these because they're just all the various maps. We have an outdoor map. We have another chicken coop. And you could probably decide, like, if you can walk over this stuff or if you have to walk around it. That makes some differences. So this one's going to have some of these tokens here for items. This also has less starting points. There's one there and one there. And then we have another one. And you can kind of see they have like different colored tiles, like white versus like gray. And here's again, just from someone that plays tactics games and stuff, you can even maybe implement a rule that like it costs one extra movement point to move from this outer path to this other path. Like maybe say it's just a step higher. I don't think it's part of the actual game, but you could do that if you like. Here's a bat symbol token for some reason. There's another outdoor one. Indoor. Again, like you could say like this special path, like maybe it costs extra to get on there and move off of it just to make the game a little bit harder. Or like these, like maybe you can't move around through these hay bales. Like here it's actually supposed to be like a tree, a tree, a tree. You know, so that makes a difference. But we got some more of them. So there's not a ton of variety for these. As far as I know, they haven't made a expansion for this game yet. It would be kind of cool if they did, so you could maybe get some other different tiles. Because right now it's you have outdoor, which I think that stone one or stuff for the city. And then right now you're getting the tofu ones here, or there's like chicken coops. Or you're getting these outdoor grass ones. It'd be kind of fun to get some other elements, stages. You could potentially work in other maps into this game if you want. And just be like, hey, I moved over onto this other map. Even though, like, the bigger ones have, like, borders. Because it's like the mines. There's frost ones. Some of the characters come with little mini maps which have like water or other different forests and stuff like that. Alright, so we're going to look at this quick before we jump into just flying through some of the cards. So this is your player board. So right now it has all these spots covered up. So it has your player card area, your armor, and your bank. So when you start off, the idea is you could pop off a couple of these and then slide your card in here, which is becoming easier said than done. Alright, so here's going to be the issue. I'm going to pop all these out. And then you have these little things that kind of hold them in there. So now if I put these back in there, they're not going to... They'll stay. They'll slide, but they'll fall out as soon as I take these out. So that's kind of the thing. You could try and save these if you want. I don't know if it's really worth it, because you have to try and keep putting them back in there, and they're probably just going to break. But your character card goes in there, and there's all its abilities. But you can limit stuff by putting on various amounts of these tokens, depending on what number of abilities or what they have. So is that going to work? I'm not sure which ones you're supposed to use. Maybe if we pop that one off and we put the 5 and we put that 5 and then we put, oh yeah, so they don't stay very well when I'm trying to do this in a standing session. So I could kind of do that. It sort of works, so I slide this card back up a bit. So now I can basically limit my character. So now my character only has this first ability. And then I can spend points to unlock other abilities. So I can spend a point to unlock the next one. Or, I think the idea is you don't have to necessarily unlock them in order. So I could spend 1 to unlock his 5 to unlock his powers down here. And the same thing is down this one. I'm just going to pop all these out. You're going to have other ability things down here. First, going to pop all of these out. So this is your armor. So again, you could put one of these in here to cover up, you know, a particular spot. And they kind of have like the little patterns on there to show what they do. So you can kind of see which size goes where. Set that off to the side. And then the same thing for your inventory. Is you can lock part of your inventory off so you can start off with less space. And you have to basically RPG through it. And on the top here, you're going to have all these little gold icons. It's just showing how many you have. Excuse me. Oh, I keep coughing. And I think this might be you putting I want to say a crystal to show what color you are. So you know which color your character is supposed to be. But that's what we have for that. Alright, so I'm going to maybe call this video part 1. And then we'll jump in and we'll do part 2 and I'll look through all the different cards and the characters and some of that stuff. See you guys later. Bye. Alright, so what I did here quick in between pausing is I just like filled the box back up. I want to show off how the trays and stuff look in there. So you just, you know, you can pull all your different, you know, books and little maps out and stuff. You have your trays. Like I did point out when I was going through these, because they have those little things on the side to hold them in there. Once you take them out, these aren't going to stay. They do have little, you can kind of see on there, little spots to show the thickness of which ones go where. Just that way if you're trying to cover them back up. But you're probably going to have to, like, dump these out somewhere. Or put them, like, in a baggie or something so they don't get lost. Because they're not going to hold in there like they seemingly should. Because the little piece that should hold them in on the side is just one of these things right here. It's not attached. So as soon as you take that stuff out, they're going to want to fall out. So while you're playing the game, they might pop out. And then it's just a flimsy little piece of cardboard that, oh, you lose one side because it popped out or it got ripped in half. Like that. Oh, well, now what do? You know, so you may as well plan ahead of time for it. So here's the side with all the tokens that we looked through. I actually popped out all the different tokens. With the exception of I didn't build all the 3D things. So this is just all like the money, health, stuff like that. And we'll look at that in a moment. Here's where your board's going. There's little tabs on here. Now this is just plastic, so it's not like super strong. Unfortunately, the ones on this side came broken. But they're enough to kind of hold that in there just so these aren't flying everywhere. So it's kind of nice. Just a little spot for that. Then now in the actual box, I have a spot for all 6 figures, or 7 figures. Your dice. So you can have that. Then they have, here's the player cards. Then they have a little tray in here for all your, like, 3D elements and stuff. So this is for one of each single one I've built. Now if I took the trees apart, I could probably get everything in here without a problem. Because the trees would take up half as much room, and like the ore and stuff like that, the ones that just slide together in 2 pieces really quick. But yeah, it's kind of just to put all your little 3D stuff. I'd probably pop this out, pop this out, just so they don't get bent. I'm going to flip this around quick. So then they have these little trays over here. Well, maybe I can kind of show them. You guys see the cards here. So you got all your different sets of cards. There's 2. There's 2 more empty ones on each side. And that's probably just so you can sort these cards out a little bit more. I'm not they didn't make this game necessarily for expansions, because if you bought, I would imagine if an expansion came out for this, if it came with one figure, where are you going to put that figure? And it's not enough room to like hold like another full set or another expansion that's pre-existing out. So it's probably just so you can take your little cards here. So like these ones are boss cards, these are quest cards. Different things you have to do. These ones are boss cards. So you can separate them out and be like, here's quests in one, here's bosses in the other. Yeah, so they're going to be a little flipping around rather than when I had them all in one. But just then that way they can, you can grab them a little bit quicker too, because there's a little bit more gap in there. They are, however, not going to hold if you sleeve them. I don't know if you really need to sleeve this game. I mean, they're pretty good type cards. I like to sleeve almost every game I play. I don't even, not even 100% sure if I have sleeves for this size card or not. But because even if you use generic or like the cheapest like penny sleeves, which they don't usually make very cheap ones for these small of cards, it's just going to add so much thickness that I don't think you're going to have enough room to fit them all in all of these spots. It might be close, but I don't think there's going to be enough room left to right on the top and bottoms up here. The other thing I did throw in there was the 4 sets of armor equipment, just the big tokens. I mean, I could throw them in here. I just set them in there as kind of an angle. Alright, so the last thing we're going to look at quick for the sets, and then we'll jump in looking at the cards, is the tokens. So you're going to get 2 boxes, they're exact same. And you can sort these however you want. So, let's see if I can tilt down a little bit. So what I did here is I put all my mob tokens on the one side, so I did that with both of them. And again, you could sort these out a little bit better, so you could sort out like the king ones, the mutant ones. There's just 3 different little trays. But like I was saying before, there's not really enough room maybe to do, if you get some extra tokens from like just like an expansion, or a little thing, like I got some from a box topper, from buying the booster box. I could put those in there, or if you just get like a couple here or there, but I don't think you're going to be able to maybe... You might not be able to load all of this up with that. The same thing with the little trays is I just separated out like, this is my player tokens for, trying to show these off. As long as I keep it in the plastic, I can tip it up a little bit more. I could probably, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to take them out, because I don't want to fall out on me if I tip it too far. So this is like your just character counters and your boss counters. So I just threw them in this big tray. They got all these small trays, so I sorted out my money, currency, like 1, 2, 5, 10. Sorted out my health. I don't know why I did it in reverse order. Then like your player counters. And then I had an empty one down here, which I just have a crystal from a different expansion. And then these first 4 here are all my... Well, this one's specifically to cover up stuff on the item board. These other 3 are equipment, and I did the same thing on this side. I did all my little equipment on there and items you can get. And again, you could sit here and sort them all out into like different types if you want. So you can have like armor in one, weapons in one. For now, I just threw them all together. And I sorted out each one of these other ones into each of the little different resources. Marketplace covers. I put the crowns and stuff for the Gobble and Tofu dungeons in here because they don't stay on there. So the same things, maybe I could pull like that board and that saw out, put them in one of these trays. And instead, I still have 2 extra holes. This is all the different gems you can collect from the mine. So again, you could sort these out into different ones for each player and then combine something else. So even if because I technically have 5 empty holes and there's 5 players, I could put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put these 2 things in here, and like sort these out. So it's like you're the red player, you have the red token in there. I could have this open. There are a couple different options you could do. You could even combine the health or some of the money. I just like having some of that stuff sorted out. That way, if like, oh, I took 1 point of damage or I gained 1 money, you know, I don't have to sit here and mess with it. So, alright. We have 2 things left to go through for this game. We have all of the little journey cards and everything that we can get. Player cards throughout the game. And then we have the actual characters. I'm going to do the characters last. And we're just going to run through all these quest cards and journey cards and all that stuff. And I'm not going to sit here, like, lots of these don't even have text on them for me to read. But I'm going to flip through them fairly quick. Because I just kind of want to get through all of them. So I just want to sort them out by type really fast. Excuse me. Alright. So, the bulk of it is going to be these event cards. These are for, like, the boss. And it's going to tell you what to do. It's just going to tell you, like, what summons that may be put out in its side. Again, like, you draw 1 minus the number of characters. So, if there's 4 players, you draw 3. So, if you're playing as the demon, you're going to draw 3 of these. And it's just going to tell you which mob, how many. It'll have symbols up on the top. They'll tell you, like, which set it's for. So it's either the gobble, which is the little sheep, or it'll be the leaf, or the feather, which will be the tofu. So this one wants you to summon 2 of these guys. And we're going to have a bunch of those. Again, 3. One of the colorful ones. So this would be like an extra figure to fight. So it's kind of neat. Like, kind of like for like boss stages. This will actually tell you to summon the boss. It might tell you to put resources out by trees. Or the dung. 12 money out. So this one has a map picture in the back. So this might be like a reward. If you collect 12, you can turn it in. I have to reread the book to see exactly what some of these mean. Resources. So it's looking like this is stuff if you defeated one of them. Gain some. Add a quest, I'm guessing. Bunch of those. Might be I changed the quest. Here's a marketplace board. I think I read somewhere in the book about changing the marketplace, changing the cost of stuff, so maybe you can mess with players. Changing everything, I'm assuming. Again, the book actually has a little guide that tells you what every single one of these cards do. I just wanted to kind of flip through them all quick so you could at least see an idea of what you're getting, what you're going to be fighting against. These weird skelly chicks. The Batman one. And this is for the tofu set, so you have the same type of thing with those 3. Then some more resources that go with them. And then I'm gonna guess these quest ones are gonna be, well, they're a little bit different. Different stuff you can collect. And then, again, a lot of these are going to be sort of repeats, just because it depends if you're playing a map that uses one or both of these themings. Alright, so that's all those. Let's look at these little quest cards that can go on the board. So you're gonna get like turning in 3 eggs, I'm guessing. You get summon, defeat a black chick, bag space, defeat one of those guys, I'm gonna guess, refresh the board, some resources, shear a sheep, spend some money. Those ones have the little blue quest. Oh, I think there was one of those mixed in there. That's alright. These are your journey cards. These are different things you want, like little things you want to complete. So you get various GG points. So these are kind of neat because you have to do them. Some of them you have to do in order. Like this is harvest a tree, I think. Collect 2 of those, then use a portal, and then you get one of your things. Or this one might be, I'm gonna guess, spend 2 coins, spend 2 of those, collect 2 of those, and then jump on a wall. I'm not gonna sit here and read through all of these, but there are various different ways you can do, like either by going to things or collecting things or spending things, and that's how you get more of these points, which are they're the GGs, which are essentially your victory points for the game. Then you get ones like this where you don't have to do them in order. It's just fighting 2 of those, I believe. And it's just, yeah, whichever one you do, if you do one, if you have multiples of these quests out, and you defeat one of these guys, it'll count for every one of these you have out. And then some 3s, which are a little bit more difficult. So those all have only the sheep icon, which is kind of odd. Aha, that's why. So those are the ones for the sheep, and then this is the one for the tofu, or the little feather. So they're gonna have different ones. And I guess if you're playing a board that can use both of these, you'll just mix them. I would assume you just mix them together. Maybe draw, X number of them. Doing these ones backwards apparently, so from 3 to 1. And those are all of those. Alright, then finally we will have the actual boss, mood type cards and summoned enemies. So if you have to summon these guys, these are what they're gonna do. So we're gonna have the God Ball, which you can summon to fight. So it's gonna have the bite power. I'm gonna give you a couple of them just so you can keep track of them. I believe they're so they're not even the exact same. So this one has less health, and that one does more damage. So this one's a little bit more powerful. Oh, crown versus not crown. There's our difference. Silverback versus a blueback on there. So yeah, so you're going to get the 2 different variations of each one. That's what it looks like it's going to happen. So the white gobblish dribble. Now these are the exact same information on the back side of them round tokens. It's really neat that they made little versions of these. So that way if you want to play with them tokens, you can just put the token out on the board, put this little card out so everyone can see it, and you don't have to keep flipping the token over. Oh, how many health do you have? Or to try and put tokens on them to keep track of them. So you have a black gobblies, the Gobble War Chief. You see the different abilities. The Gobite, stuffed Gobble. He's basically a lot harder to kill, but he can't do anything to you. Goblite, Gobble Ghost Stuff. Then the gold game are usually unique, so there's only going to have one at a time probably. A Cave Gobble, Skeletal Gobble, Putrid Gobble, Gobble Cool, and then, okay, so I'm going to take these guys off. So then these are the mood cards that they added, or made for the bosses. So now when you're playing the boss, you draw one of these, and it's going to give them different effects to make them harder. So plus 6 health, plus 3 AP. He gets this ability called God Buff, which gives him plus 5. And then he has special loot. You can get ready to charge. Gives him a royal missive. Enraged. He gets hot and ready. Satisfied. Royal horned attack. Full throttle. Gob ability. Does 6 damage. But he also costs 6, so you have to make sure you have enough to fight him. And then stuff. And then you might be like, well, why doesn't he get one of these little tiny cards? Because he gets a full-on regular character card. So you can actually play him in other games as well. Alright, then we're going to look at the other ones. So we got the Mutant Tofus. Poggy Tofus, and these guys have the other crown on the back. Just a regular Tofu, which these guys are in the summons are on like the base set, the arena. Baby Tofus. Tofoon, Tofoon. Stuffed Tofus. Tofusmo, the rare ones. A Tofumbine, Black Tofu. Ugly Tofu. The Batofu. And the Blastafu. And then finally we have the moods for him. We have Overexcited, which he gets unmad. Fully Fit, Royal Beak Attack. Armed and Ready, who can heal himself with Tofu Tank. On the Lookout, Royal Peck. Angry with Tofutility. And Sleepy, Tofisto. So you can see this guy he's going to gain a lot more health from his abilities overall. He's also going to gain more movement, where the other guy, he does less damage. This guy moves around more and like kind of pot shots you, whereas the other guy's going to like run up and actually just hit you once. And this is supposed to be sort of a play on the arena version, because you had the King of Godball and the King of Tofu, or the King and Queen, I don't remember which ones they are. But that's how their summons work, is essentially the Godball is like one a little bit more powerful summon, versus the Tofu you could get up to 3 of them. And they wouldn't do as much damage, but the idea is they're more annoying because you have to deal with 3 of them. Alright, we're going to look at the character cards here quick, and then we will call this video. I'm just pulling them all out. Alright, so I'm going to go through the 5 characters from Season 2 first that aren't exclusive to this box, and then we'll do the 2 exclusive characters last. So here we have Raw Bulk. So he's like this mummified magician. He got a buckler on his hat. So now, all the things on this card down here, I'm going to say, if I can get this to focus. Come on, camera. You can do it. There we go. So it says, Dopus Krosmaster Season 2, number 4 of 32. So it's just showing that it's number 32 in that set. So if I look at one of the other ones, it's going to say number 16. Versus, if I look at one of the exclusives, it's going to say it's from Quest 1 of 2. That's how you can just tell them apart. Otherwise, so that means this guy's card ability is going to be the exact same as if I did it in there. There's not going to be any difference. So, couple of things just to note on what's out on this card, because I didn't go over it too much during the beginning of the video. Excuse me. Up here's their name. Right below it is like an identifier. So almost every character is gonna have. I think every character is gonna have at least something, but there might be one or two that don't for some odd reason. Watch them have different like groups. Like his is Excelsior. You have like Iop, Foggernaut, Entroff, and Pandora. So this kind of dictates either like usually like a race, like Panda's a race, or it could also be like a culture or like their religion or like region they're from. It's like this guy's from like Elxor or Katsumi's from Iop or like that's kind of. I'm not 100% familiar with the lore, but I know it's something like that. It's just like it's like an area or like a grouping they belong to, not necessarily like a team, or a thing like that. There are teams in here, like there's the Brotherhood of the Tofu, or it's not a class description. Like they do have that. Like there's some characters that are knights or bandits, or villains. There's some different teams in here, like the Avengers and the Multi-Men, which if you watch some of my other videos, you'll see those. So that's what that is, and occasionally some other cards might reference those different things. I don't know if any of them in here will or not, but that's what those are. So then we have down here this little lightning bolt. That's your initiative. So the higher your initiative, determines the play order of your character. So if you have a higher initiative, your character gets to go first, versus a lower. MP is your movement points. It's how many points you move. HP is your health, how many hits you can take. AP is your action points, which you spend to use on abilities. Whether it's these abilities or if it's item abilities. Up in this top corner, this number 3, that's the level of the character. So it kind of, one, somewhat determines how powerful the character is going to be, but it's also for gameplay standards. So in this set, everyone's a level 3, including the 2 bosses. You buy some of the other ones, there's going to be characters that are level 2 or level 1, so they're a little bit weaker or easier to use, maybe. And then there's some that are like 6s and 7s. But the idea is when you're building a team, everyone should have like the same level of characters. So you could either say, okay, everyone gets 2 level 3 characters. Alright, then you just pick out 2 level 3. Or you could be like, you can build a team of 10 points. So therefore, someone could be like, I'm going to build a team of 5 2-point characters. And someone else could be like, I'm going to build a team of a 6 and a 4. So it could be 2 minis versus 4 minis. But your level 2 characters might have like 3-4 health versus that level 6 could have 15-16 health by himself. So there's kind of a little back and forth there. Alright, then we have our abilities, which we kind of went over a little bit in the intro video. So as name of it's clock, the bar on the top says it's how many times you can use it. And the icon's the range. So this is a green spell that can go between 2 to 5 spaces. So he can't hit someone right in front of him. He has to be at least 2 spaces away. But then he can hit up to 5 spaces after that. Like 5 spaces away. It's going to steal 1 AP from them. And but it costs him 6. It costs him all his AP to use, but it does 2 water damage. So it does 2 damage, but if they have something that, like a weakness or whatever, it does extra damage because of the water. Or like down here in the bottom, he has powers. So it's critical hit and chance for water, so he can do extra water damage. Then he has slowdown. This one's red because you can't adjust the range. But it's also 2 to 5, but it just gives the opponent -1 AP. But because it's purple, you probably only use it like once per combat. Or I'm not sure exactly, but you probably can't use it consistently because it's gonna. But that's sort of his gimmick, is all time, slowing people down, keeping them from doing actions. Alright. Up next we have Kasumi. She is our warrior girl. So we have like a mage, and now we have a warrior. So she is going to have like 2 AP. She's a little bit slower, but she has 3 MP, 10 health, 6 AP. She has Sword of Fate. Costs 3 to use, does 1 fire damage, inflicts 2 fire if Kasumi is already damaged the target this turn. So she can use it twice, so the second time it'll actually do 3 damage. But it's a melee, so she has to be right next to him. She also has Sentence. She can target somebody, it's 2 to 3, but it steals health, and it does 1 damage. So you can do it once to try and get some of her health back, and that will text about the character. She has Crafter, so it'll help her gain extra stuff, use less resources when she's crafting. And then she can use Agility, which gains her bonus to Wing. Alright, and then we have Christy Enrich, who's a steampunk girl. Oops. And these are all common characters. Alright, so she's gonna have 3 MP, not MP, initiative, but she also has 3 MP, 10 health, 6 AP. She has Pilfer, which does 1 to 3 damage. Cost 3, does 1 winged damage. So it pierces armor, and plus 2 to the target turret. So what she does is her next ability is Place Harpooner. She can place a Harpooner on the targeted empty cell. And it costs 3. I know what she can basically do is she can either hit somebody else, and then she can pierces their armor, do some damage. But then she can also give extra action points to her harpoons, so her harpoons can then attack again. And she has armor and wisdom. We have Diver Breel. We looked at before. He's our farmer. So we have a steampunk girl, a warrior, a mage, and a farmer. So he has 6 initiative, 3 MP, 10 health, 6 AP. Shovel of Judgment. Spell it does 1 to 4. -1 movement point. Costs him 4, but it does 2 water damage. And then he has Summon the Living Shovel. He can only do once. Place a living shovel on targeted empty cell. So his other ability seems pretty powerful. That's because the summon one, he can only have 1 shovel at a time anyhow, but he can only use it once per battle. So if the shovel gets defeated, he can't resummon it. That's why his other ability is a little bit more powerful. So it's Dodge and Farmer. Our last of these is Pangali. Alright, so there's her. She's a little panda girl. It's kind of neat because then you have human, and a panda girl. A little bit representation. She has 5 initiative, 3 MP, 11 HP, 6 AP. She has 2 fist attacks. She has Flaming Burp, which has a breath effect. Costs her 1 health to use it, and 4 AP, but it does 2 fire damage. And then she has Hangover, where she can push someone 1 space away, move 1 space closer to targeted character. So you can kind of just like drunk boxing, you can kind of push them away and then get closer to them. And it also does earth damage. And then she has Lock, Intelligence for fire, and Strength for earth, so she can potentially do more damage with both of her attacks. Alright. Our last 2 are our royalty cards. We have the Royal Godball, which is like this angry ass sheep. So here's his little miniature. He's got his big giant horns. He's got his crown up there. Little feet. I like that. Alright. So he is gold text, which means he's rare. He has Godball and Boss, so he's gonna anything that references a Godball could reference him as well. And then specifically Boss. So when you're playing modes in here, it says you have to use a Boss character. You can only use one that says Boss. So now he only has 1 initiative, so he doesn't move very fast. He's gonna be like one of the last people to go. But he has 3 MP, 10 HP, 7 AP, which isn't too much more than some of these other characters. But he's also got multiple attacks. Royal Bite, he pierces armor for 1 damage. Royal Charge. He can move two cells closer to the target. So he starts 2 to 3 spaces away, so basically he can hit them for 2 damage, or try, and then move right next to him, so he can use one of his Royal Bite, which is a little bit cheaper. And that's 4, 5, 6, 7, so he can actually use both of them back to back. He also has Royal Summons Godball 2, so he can summon 2 Godballs for 4, and they summon next to him in the space. His powers are Armor, Lock, so he rolls extra dice for those, and then the Royal Gobblinator. So this is one of the special keywords, so they add special text for it. Royal Gobblinator, while Royal Gobble is in play, all allied Gobbles have Lock and Armor. So that gives all his little minions the extra Lock and Armor power. And again, Armor Armor helps prevent damage, so they roll for armor to reduce damage. And then Lock is when someone's trying to move away from you, you roll a lock to see if you keep them next to you, and they have to try and roll a dodge to get away. And if their dodge is higher than your lock, they successfully get away. If they don't, they actually lose their turn. So it's kind of these guys are basically like, I'm going to stick on you like glue. And our final character is the Royal Tofu, which are these little burbs. So he's got, there's his the blue and white stripes, his crown, tail. He's got little tiny feet down there. Kind of cool. Love these models. So he has Tofu and Boss. He has 7 initiative, which I think was the highest of all these characters. Yes. Nope. Rawlbox has 8. So if every character was out, he would attack second, whereas the other guy would attack last. So you can kind of see. So again, like I was saying, the other guys are slower. You have a couple of them, they kind of slowly come after you. These guys swarm you. So there's 4 MP, 8 HP, 6 AP, a little bit easier to defeat. Royal Peck does 1 to 3 range for 1 damage. But you could do it twice. Royal Crush will do 3 damage, but it costs all your AP and it pierces armor. And Royal Summons Tofu, which he can summon 4 of them. So that guy can only do 2, he can do 4. And then King of Flipping Birds, that's funny. Powers Dodge, critical hit, so the other guy can keep you next to him and reduce damage. His is the opposite. He can try and get away easier, and he can potentially do more damage. And then he has the Royal Tofunator. Royal Tofu is in play, all allied Tofus gain critical hit and dodge. So there is that. So they're going to give out extra abilities. Alright, so one last quick thing before I end the video. I just want to show off the 2 exclusive characters from the Arena 1.0, the original base game, which these bosses were kind of basically taking after. The King of Gobballs and the Queen of Tofus. So the King of Godballs here, because just that way, if you buy both of these and you put them on a team, you're going to see how they can kind of very synergy work together. So he can only summon 1 Godball, but then he also has an ability that says Gobbleob inflicts +2 extra earth damage when a Godball is adjacent to the target of the spell. So if you played them guys together, and the other guy can summon 2 and he can summon 1, now you can summon 3 of them. Plus the other guy, the Royal Godball is going to give them all them extra lock and armor bonuses. And then you can do this to gain extra bonuses that way for just damaging the ones that are near them. And then this is the very same thing with the Queen of Tofus. Says inflicts +1 per tofu adjacent to the target. She can summon 3, the other one can summon 4. So you can have 7 of them out there at a time with these 2 characters. And then they're going to do 1 extra damage. They normally do 0. They're looking for them critical hits, which this guy can also give them all critical hits. So they actually do more, so I get an extra roll for that, which makes that easier for them. Plus, you could surround them with 4, so you could get 1 on each side, and you could actually do plus 4 extra damage. So, yeah, you combine these 2 characters together, they could definitely do some damage, and mess some stuff up. Alright, so that is what I have for Krosmaster Quest. A lot of stuff in here. I know I didn't go over the exact rules and all this stuff super well. I mean, I kind of flipped through the book. But yeah, hopefully this is something, if you're looking for just something a little bit different to play. Definitely what you can do. You can pick this up and you can play some quests versus just fighting each other. Or you could pick this up and you could ignore all them other extra cards and you could just play on these bunch of boards that you can kind of like maneuver around. Or I said again, you could add them, combine them with other boards to make like different things, like maybe surround your ice field with like some dry land, or if you buy like the mine or the pirate set, you could add those in there. Or even the little mini maps the characters come with. And you can make some interesting extra maps or different scenarios with all those too. Alright, catch you guys later. Bye.